Life's so damn high, you can't even afford to die.
Let's go through the financial burden of what it was like for me to live in New York City.
I live in a one-bedroom apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan with a base rent of $38.50 a month.
Not mindful, it is just absolutely insane.
I pay $1,600 for a flat that has no bedroom. That's 2/3 of my income.
Living in America is exhausting.
Bro, the way America is sounding lately, it's less land of opportunity and more land of permanent exhaustion. You wake up tired. You go to work tired. You come home tired. And your bank account is still looking at you like, yeah, I'm not helping you today. Rent's climbing like it's training for Mount Everest. Groceries cost the same as a weekend vacation. And gas prices? Bro, that's basically a second car payment at this point. And just when you think it can't get worse, another dude pops up like, life's so expensive, I can't even afford to die. Funerals are basically luxury events now. Like, why does my final goodbye cost more than my first car? Man said, throw me in the ocean. And honestly, respectfully, relatable. At this point, America's not a country. It's a subscription service nobody remembers signing up for.
Life's so damn high, you can't even afford to die. Have you seen the cost of caskets and funerals? Man, when I die, just throw my ass in the ocean. Fuck it.
So everyone is talking about how the cost of living is really high, right? How the cost of living has gone through the roof over the years. And now in America, most people can't even afford a 2-bedroom apartment, right? I just want to share how high the cost of living is now in Las Vegas. And I know the cost of living everywhere is expensive. I know the 3 most expensive states in the United States, number 1 being Hawaii. I don't know specifically, but I know California and then New York, right? I don't know what order for those ones. But I just want to share how the cost of living in Las Vegas has truly gone up. Now, I am from Los Angeles, but my family relocated here in 2006 in Las Vegas. And back in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, a studio apartment cost $600. Now, I am someone who has always been friends with people who are older than me. So I have friends who are 5, 6, 8 years older than me, as well as 12 years older than me. And even they tell me, because I was too young at the time, I was not paying rent at those times. But they tell me how they had little bust downs for 600, 700, 800. And I remember when my family moved here, we had a 3-bedroom house, full garage, full backyard, full front yard for $1,300. $1,300 got you a 3-bedroom house, good size, garage, front yard, backyard. You were good. That was back then in 2009, 2010. Now, $1,300 gets you a fucking studio apartment here. A 1-bedroom apartment here, if you're lucky. Honestly, I feel like 1-bedrooms here in Las Vegas are now going for $1,500. And it's like, why would you pay that amount? Why would you pay $1,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment when technically you can still go and search for a house for that price? Really blew up, I feel like, 2 years before COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, rent was just going sky high because landlords weren't getting their money through COVID. That's what they claim, right? Now, I'm from California and I moved to Las Vegas. And I just remember also around that time, early 2010s, 2012, 2014, 2008, I was constantly hearing about how people were relocating from California to Las Vegas because Vegas was so much more affordable. Now, Vegas is still much more affordable compared to Los Angeles, compared to California, compared to New York. However, I also just want to include that the pay has not really gone up in Las Vegas since these prices have skyrocketed over the years. I think that the minimum wage just got raised to $15. However, there are still places, I don't know how or why or legally how they're able to do it, but there are still places that are still paying $8.25, $9.25. You know, if you work a job where you get commission, obviously you are making below minimum wage. You're making $7.25 an hour, and all of your income comes from commissions or whatever. There's jobs like that too, but it's just crazy that now you cannot work a regular food retail server, you know, job and be able to afford rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. And they want you to make 3 times the income. So I don't know. I just wanted to come on here and yap about how inflation has hit Las Vegas. And it's crazy because our pay hasn't gone up, and the vast majority of our work comes from the Strip or some sort of like hospitality or some sort of serving. That is the structure of Las Vegas, is like serving, nightlife, hospitality, transportation.
My favorite part about living in the US is that everything slowly but surely gets worse while also getting more expensive, and that shit really keeps me on my toes.
I just got my security deposit back from my apartment in New York City. I was living part-time in New York City and part-time in Naples, Florida for 10 months. I came back for the winter. I ended my lease. There's literally no point in me being there for the winter. I have learned so many things, but let's go through the financial burden of what it was like for me to live in New York City. So for reference, I lived in Williamsburg, basically East Williamsburg / Greenpoint. It wasn't like that far that it was East Williamsburg, but it was like not as close to the subway as I would want to be. It was probably like a 10-minute walk. The difference between Greenpoint and Williamsburg, in my opinion, is that Greenpoint doesn't have as much access to the subway or like public transportation. So it's a little bit more difficult to like get around or get into the city. But both are absolutely stunning. And if I were to, when I do move back to New York after the winter, I will probably go back to Williamsburg. So for me to live in a apartment building, which was pretty small, it was an old Catholic school. It was a really cool, very safe area. I had central air. I had a tub, a shower, pretty big bathroom. Our building had a really beautiful rooftop. We had in-building laundry. We had a yoga studio, a gym, a recreational room, elevators, a mail room, and then like a doorman situation. And I don't know if I mentioned that I had central air and heating, which is huge in New York. So for all of that, my rent was $2,700 a month. But my apartment was a studio at 350 square feet. I know it's shocking, but let me keep going. I mentioned that I had central heating and air. That is through Con Edison, and that is not included in your rent. Again, for my 350 square foot apartment, the most expensive bill that I had was $250 from Con Edison. That is on top of my $2,700 rent. The lowest bill I had from Con Ed was probably $90, and I physically was not in the apartment for more than 3 days that month. You also have to factor in laundry. So anytime you do laundry, yes, it was in building, but it would cost you I think it was like $250 for like a regular wash cycle, $250 for like a regular dry cycle. So there's another $5. You also need to factor in internet. And I think my internet was $65 or $60 a month. On top of that, you're factoring in transportation because I did not have a car. And even if you have a car, it's extremely expensive. Parking at my building, I believe, was $400, and they didn't have any spots available. I also wouldn't have brought my car up because then I wouldn't have a car here in Florida. Say we take an Uber from my apartment to Union Square, that would probably cost $35 to $40. If you're going somewhere from my apartment to like MSG, maybe $60. If I was taking my apartment to LaGuardia, it was always $35 and back. If you're taking the train if you're taking the L from my stop in wherever you need to go, and even if you like are transferring, I think it was like $290, I'm pretty sure it was, maybe $250, I can't remember. And if you're doing that multiple times a day, it does add up. Then you have to factor in city bikes. Usually you get the city bike subscription. So I think it was like $250 for the year, and then you get like unlimited. If you're not doing the subscription, which I ended up not doing because I was there for the majority of winter, and then I was scared. I had just moved to New York, so I was like, I don't want to ride this bike alone. And by the end, by my last 6 months, I was tearing it up on the city bikes. But I didn't think it was like fiscally responsible for me to pay the $250. Now looking back, it absolutely would have been, because one ride on a city bike can be $20 if you take the electric one. There are so many more things that go into this, so if you guys want me to say more, let me know. But this is just transparency of what I went into and like what it cost for me. I'll probably make another video on how I afforded it next.
Hey, what's up, America? We're getting word in the next couple of months that the housing market might finally collapse worse than 2008. Now, economists are warning that housing prices might fall 50% in some areas. And that could just be disastrous for the United States. Yes, that's correct. Top economists are warning that housing prices can drop 50% to prices that people could actually afford. So yes, we've all been bitching and complaining about housing prices being 30 to 50% overinflated, meaning that the younger generations will never have a chance to buy a house. And now that the market's about to collapse here in the next couple of months, people are bitching about it. The fuck is wrong with you? This is the greatest news I can think of. Houses that were artificially inflated on price are now going to settle back down to normal levels. And now people are going to start bitching that they're going to lose fake equity in their home from overinflated values. And people are going to start bitching that the younger generation will actually be able to afford a home if these values on homes drop 30 to 50%. So you see, you can't have it both ways. You can't have houses that cost $500,000 on average, and yet still have the younger generations purchase homes, because they'll never be able to afford that kind of house price ever. At the same time, those of you out there that have houses that doubled in value in the last 7 years, you knew that was fake. You knew it was artificial. You knew that was made up just from market speculation. And now that housing prices are going to start to drop coming up here, you have the nerve to bitch about the value of your house going down, even though you knew it was artificially inflated in the first place. You didn't mind because you could sell your house for triple what you bought it. So, of course, you were fine with that. But you have to understand, it's more important that the next generations are able to purchase homes. That's more important than a false overinflated house value. I know you don't think so because you might be set to lose a little bit of equity, right? But would you rather take the artificially inflated value and run? Or would you rather your kids and grandkids actually be able to have a house and the same American dream that you got?
So living in America isn't the American dream. It's the American drain. Everyone from different angles is saying the same thing. Prices keep going up, wages stay the same, and the cost of simply existing feels impossible. People describe waking up tired, going to work tired, coming home even more tired. The overall vibe is exhaustion, frustration, and feeling stuck in a system where surviving is the new normal. Then you see stories about tiny, overpriced apartments, working nonstop and still being broke, and health declining because even healthy food is a luxury now. Some even joke that life is so expensive. Dying is expensive too. The message is consistent. The system keeps getting worse, people keep getting squeezed, and everyone is just trying to survive one day at a time.
The cost of living in Florida is absolutely fucking ridiculous, and the pay is not matching up with it, especially for healthcare workers, specifically nurses is who I'm referring to because that's what I know, that's what I do. A lot of my videos talk about this. A lot of people comment that I live above my means. I would like to show you a video of me. I am the person that a lot of my friends go to for financial advice because I'm very frugal, I'm very good at budgeting. I love budgeting, I love saving money, I love investing money, I love doing things like this. Can't do it anymore because I literally don't make money. But yes, a lot of my friends come to me, and this video that I'm going to attach is one of my best friends. She was moving to Tampa. She wanted my help finding an apartment that she could afford. She sent me her pay. She sent me all these things. So I said, oh my god, girly pop, absolutely. Look at this fucking shit. Okay, December 29th, 2020. This one was $13.40. I clicked on this link, and it took me here. All right, we're looking for the 1-1 that I sent her, which was this one. 743 square feet, 1-1. It was 18, but after all the additional, it's 1964. I sent her a 12-month lease. For a 12-month lease today, that is $24.61. So yeah, it's not a me issue, but thank you. Also, yes, I could get 27 roommates, or live like in Section 8 housing, or have like the cops perched outside my apartment every day. For example, my brother was trying to convince me to move to Jacksonville, and he's like, hey, you should come live here. He called me the other day. He goes, Grace, The cops knocked on my door at 4 a.m. and asked me if I heard anything. And I was like, did you? He's like, no. Apparently my neighbor got murdered and dragged down the stairs. But you should come live here because it's cheap. It fucking better be.
I've been living in New York for the past year, and here's an overview of how much I spend each month. First up, rent. I live in a one-bedroom apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan with a base rent of $38.50 a month. Add in utilities and internet, and this brings the cost to about $4,000 a month. Luckily, the apartment has a gym, and so I don't pay anything extra for a separate gym membership. Next up, food. I try to cook about half my meals, and so I spend around $200 a month on groceries. For the other half of my meals where I eat out, it's about $800 a month, bringing my total food expenses to about $1,000 a month. Next on the list, transportation. I work remotely, and so I don't need a commute to work, and when I do leave the apartment, I try to either take the train or take the bus. Sometimes when I do get lazy, I take an Uber, and that brings my total of transportation to around $400 a month. Next up, nightlife. This includes bars, clubs, concerts, and all the alcohol involved. This expense changes the most on a month-to-month basis, but on average, it's about $500 a month. And finally, miscellaneous. This includes things like laundry, clothes, haircuts, and various other miscellaneous purchases. This is around $600 a month. And so in total, I spend about $6,500 a month living in New York City.
I'm an American. I pay $1,600 for a flat that has no bedroom. That's 2/3 of my income. I'm an American. I work 50 hours a week. I don't have health insurance. I'm an American. I couldn't afford to have a child even if I wanted to. I'm $7,000 in debt. I'm an American. My health is declining because I can't afford Whole Foods because that's too expensive for my life. I am very overqualified for my job, but no one else is hiring. I'm an American. I make my boss hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, while I can barely keep myself alive. I'm an American. I have never been out of the States. I have never been on a vacation. I'm an American. I make $20-some an hour. A livable wage here is like 30-some. Yet I don't qualify for government assistance whatsoever. On the days I don't work, I'm so tired I just sleep all day. I'm an American. My electric bill is so expensive I sit outside in the heat because I can't afford to turn the AC on in the damn house. I'm an American, and I fear I'm just an average American. I'm living the American dream.
So whenever I talk about my expenses here in the United States, I always inevitably get the one comment that says, well, yeah, your wages are way higher, so obviously your expenses will be higher too. And I'm going to push back on this. Some things that we pay for here in the States are up to 15 to 20 times higher than they are in other places of the world. For example, our water bills. My water bill is $215 a month. In the comments of the videos I've made about my water bill, I'm getting people from Italy, Portugal, Spain, wherever. They are telling me how much they are paying for water. In Ireland, it's free. They pay $0. They pay 30 euros a month or something like that, or even less. So that makes my bill a factor of almost like 8 times higher. I'm not making 8 times a European salary, okay? Look at health insurance. Look at what they pay a month for their health insurance if they have a private plan. And look at what we're paying. You can't tell me that that relates to, oh, you're just making, 2 times as much money. No, it doesn't work like that. Our expenses here are Looney Tunes world crazy. We have completely gone off the rails. We have lost the plot. It is not demure. It is not mindful. It is just absolutely insane. This was about a month ago, but I still can't believe that cabbage I bought, the Napa cabbage, was $14. It was a big chunker. It was a big chungus of a cabbage, but you know what? It was $14. I still bought it. Yes. That's on me. You know what I mean? There wasn't a price tag on it. It was by weight. But still, a vegetable, one vegetable, the most expensive vegetable I've ever bought. I challenge you to find another place in the world where a cabbage costs $14. And this is coming from someone who will be the first to tell you that if you're traveling to another country that has lower prices, you should never, ever say, wow, it is so cheap here. Because all that does is piss off the locals. I mean, how would you feel if someone came into your city, sat down next to you at the bar, and said, wow, this place is so cheap. Meanwhile, you live there, and you're like, This is not cheap at all. I am struggling to even put bread on the table for my family. And you're telling me this is cheap? Our cost of living here is no longer reflective of reality because no one can afford anything anymore. And you can see this in day-to-day life. Restaurants are empty. I live near beaches and the beaches are dead. Nobody's going on vacation here anymore because nobody can afford it. And the thing that gets me is it's only getting more expensive here. Like my budget compared to 2020 to now, which I've kept a budget down to the penny for 5 years, it is eye-watering. I make the same amount of money. My job is the same. And my expenses are incredibly more expensive than they are 5 years ago, doubled. So what does that mean for 5 years from now? Are they going to double again? Because if that happens, it's going to be crippling. Nobody can afford life now. So what happens in 5 years? It's really scary to think about it, and I don't think enough people think about it. So, yeah. And I'm not trying to minimize anyone else's experience outside of the United States. I'm just trying to call attention that our cost of living here in the States is absolutely insane. And I don't know how to fix it, but I can vent about it, and I think that you are feeling the same way. So let me know what you think.
Living in America is exhausting. You wake up tired, you go to work tired, you come home, barely surviving, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, come home, and you're still fucking broke. Every single month, rent's due. Rent is through the roof. Groceries are double what they used to be just 2 years ago. You go to the gas pump to fill up your car, and it's like you paid another car note. Everything, and I mean everything, is up in price. But your paycheck, still the same. And once inflation gets done with it, it's probably even a little less. Yet somehow, they keep telling us, just budget a little bit more. Just work a little bit harder. Like, I'm sorry, how many jobs do I need now? 4? 5? 7? That's not living. That's barely surviving.
Bro, in America somehow keeps leveling up in difficulty while everyone is already on the brink. People talk about working nonstop, juggling multiple jobs, and still not being able to afford basics like rent, food, or air conditioning. It's the same cycle every day. Wake up tired, work tired, come home tired, repeat. Inflation keeps pushing everything higher. Paychecks stay frozen, and the government's solution is basically budget harder. The exhaustion isn't just physical. It's mental and emotional burnout from a system that feels rigged from the start. At the end of all these videos, one thing's clear. People aren't asking for luxury. They're just asking for a life that doesn't feel like a nonstop uphill battle. From rent to groceries to the literal cost of staying alive, everything keeps rising except the one thing people actually need, a paycheck that lets them breathe. And when the American dream starts sounding more like a daily survival challenge, you know something's seriously broken. But the wild part? Everyone in these clips is still pushing, still trying, still hoping something changes before they completely burn out. If there's one thing these voices remind us, it's that people are tired, but they're not silent. So if you're feeling the same way, you're not alone. And if you want more breakdowns like this, more real talk from real people, you already know what to do. Subscribe for the next one.